My name's Kevin Fall. I'm a principal engineer at Intel. Recently changed from Intel's research lab in Berkeley to the security research group, which is part of what's called the Circuits and Systems Research Lab within Intel Labs. And I've been working on networking for many years, network simulation, and then in the last few years working on communication in sort of difficult areas. In this delay tolerant networking term is the one that I came up with some number of years ago now, to try to capture how to do networking in environments that really are kind of not like the ones that we've traditionally been operating in. I gave kind of a look back at what we've learned in some different areas. So the lab that I was in was one of the early labs that made a lot of small sensor type nodes and how they communicate. So there's a lot of work done there. The DTN ideas were sort of spawned out of there as well. And then, like what we've sort of learned from those architectures, and then some of the new architectures that are being proposed, including kind of information-centric or data-centric, and some of the relationships between some of the things we had done in the DTN world for moving chunks of data around across even links that may have large delay or buffering versus the kind of caching and object related naming and routing that you have in some of these proposals that are happening now. So some of the discussion today has been the first day of the workshop so far, relates to how, for example, dynamic spectrum might be used by systems and how we can really get more capacity. This was some of the discussion this morning. And then more recently, things like usage models and how, in a world where things like social networking is popular, video distribution on a whole myriad of devices is popular, and at the same time we see things in the newspaper about people's potentially private information being disclosed around. How do we deal with these kind of situations? Again, I mentioned before, I'm in the security research group now, and so thinking about models that help people protect privacy but also balance interests between content that people have versus what people create and what kind of information they disclose, I think is it's already been there in the regular internet case, but it's expanded to even more issues, I think, when we get into the mobile type environment. Well, I don't know if I'd say voice to voice, but people to machine maybe. I think a lot of the challenges are really when the people get involved. We've not done a super job in some of our user interface work. Security is a huge one, but also we've taken some applications that we've used in regular conventional computer systems and desktops and so on and brought them onto our mobile devices. Some of them work pretty well, and in fact some of them are really enabled by the mobile platform, like navigation and certain kind of mapping and things. But other kinds of applications don't necessarily work so well. And so when you have to have a lot of text entry or enter a lot of information, these don't carry over as well. So I think that there's an engineering aspect of user interfaces. There's also cultural aspects about how they're used, how loud they need to be, that kind of thing. I think we have a fair ways to go still. And this is going to affect the engineering of the devices as well. So it's not my direct area, but I think that, for example, security usability does overlap with some of the things I'm interested in. And I think that the human interface is one of the more challenging ones, particularly if humans want to change their minds, which they tend to want to do. I guess this conference has happened for a decade, and so where we are 10 years later might be an interesting thing to think about. The mobile ad hoc sub-piece, where things are moving and ad hoc networks have been forming, has been an area sponsored by the military for a while, and it's also has a bit of overlap in disaster response and things like that. I think that in some cases, we say that too easily to say, well, it's applicable to these other places. It really would be interesting to get to the use cases and figure out, this really is the use case. These are the networks that have existed now, and here's their problems, and relate them to kind of a decade worth of work and see what's really there.